Hello and welcome into another edition of State of the Sun Devils alongside Damon Allred. I'm Jeremy Schnell. Well, news that we didn't know was going to happen, or didn't know if it was going to happen,
or didn't know when it was going to happen,
has finally come down and dropped. Sam Leavitt reportedly going to enter the transfer portal with the intention of transferring away from Arizona State. Boy, when we came into this season after a Big 12 championship, and after going to the Peach Bowl, almost winning the Peach Bowl, and Sam Leavitt was, top 10 Heisman favorites, this was not on our bingo card.
Well, I think Sam Leavitt leaving was on our bingo card.
And we thought he was going to the draft.
It just wasn't really in this fashion. And I mean, it's been the slow burn of all slow burns, just in terms of about a month ago almost now. The original report comes out that Sam Leavitt's camp is shopping his services to other teams in the interest of, what might the market look like should he transfer. And I mean, it came to pass, as we have seen. And, it really came to a head with the no-show at the team banquet that was reported about. And
a lot of people are getting on Sam for that.
And to me, rightfully so, just because you are a captain, you are a leader of the team. Being absent from a show of appreciation for the seniors that put in a lot of work here to change the standard of what's expected here, and you're not even going to give them the time that, show up for an hour or two, like.
Not even that. I mean, Kenny Dillingham still did it seemingly honor him with some words and, wished him the best.
Which he and offensive coordinator Marcus Arroyo, with what he said today about the situation, I mean, both of those guys have just been as professional as you could be in situations like this. I think it's just unfortunate that you haven't seen the same level of professionalism out of Sam in his camp. Obviously, it's within his prerogative to go out and search for whatever is the best opportunity for him. But you don't need to, tarnish what is going to be his legacy here in Tempe. And, I'm sure the feeling from the fan base toward him is not what it was even a week ago, just because of how the last week has gone.
Yeah, and to be clear, Sam has not made any comment on this situation yet, has not made that Instagram post that all the athletes seemingly do that says, with that being said, I am entering the transfer portal. But it's being reported by a bunch of different outlets, and, Kenny has wished him well in his future. So obviously entering the transfer portal doesn't mean specifically that that player is going to leave. They can just test the waters. But in this situation, I think it's best if both parties just move on. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would. I keep coming back to this thing about the 2 years that he's been here, and how coming into this season, I'm sure ASU was expecting that he would have the kind of season that could get him into the NFL. And so they may have already been planning kind of their next quarterback after this. And so, what does that look like in the portal? I think it's going to be interesting to see. There have been a few candidates that have already made their intentions clear about entering the portal. Some that, Kenny Dillingham follows on Twitter, if you want to be the social media sleuths around here. And, it's just really going to come down to what happens over the next month or two, or maybe even longer than that, depending on how long the process goes. But I think the one thing that we can probably say for certainty at this point is that ASU will get a transfer quarterback to start next year. I don't think that they have any intentions of going into 2026 with the desire to start either of Cam Dyer or Jake Fetty, with just the youth that they'll both have.
Well, and you never know. In Kenny Dillingham's first season, he did start a true freshman in the first game in Jaden Rashada. So could we see that with Jake Fetty? Maybe if he lights the world on fire when he gets here, we could see that. But I tend to agree with you, Damon. ASU is a big draw. And, with Kenny Dillingham and Marcus Arroyo having the pedigree and the track record that they do in being able to develop quarterbacks and get them to the NFL, I think that's going to be a big draw. You talked about the players that have already entered the portal. I really like Harvard's quarterback, who is allegedly or reportedly going to enter the portal, and Jaden Craig.
Yeah.
Smart kid, obviously went to Harvard.
Love a quarterback who went to Harvard.
Yes. Record-setting quarterback there. I really like him. I would like to see ASU go after him. I do want to talk about the future of the quarterback position at ASU and what we'd like to see, but I kind of want to go back to Sam for a second and talk about, you brought it up, his legacy at ASU. When it's all said and done, everybody's going to remember that he helped bring this team a Big 12 championship and get the team to the college football playoff, in my opinion. Now, is everybody going to remember how it ended? It's kind of how it worked with Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
Everybody remembered how it ended. He said he wasn't going anywhere, and then he decided that he wanted to go to LSU. So obviously Jaden Daniels didn't accomplish the same amount of, stuff that Sam Leavitt did here at Arizona State. But is that going to be a huge stain left on his legacy at ASU?
It's interesting, and I think a lot of it will come down to what he does at his next stop and specifically where that next stop is. Like, if it's a place like Texas Tech that has been thrown out there, I think he's going to completely lose any semblance of ASU fans that still supported him, just in terms of, that's the last game that you played entirely here, is beating Texas Tech and leading kind of a Herculean effort to do so. And now you're going to go join that side. It would feel very much like Kevin Durant leaving Oklahoma City to join the Golden State Warriors, of course. But I think from, some other potential landing spots, like, I don't think fans would have an issue if he landed at Indiana. Now, if he landed at LSU, they would, of course, make all the Lane Kiffin jokes, and rightfully so, probably. But, it also comes down to, what does ASU do? And, how quickly are they able to get back on the tracks and things like that. But also, like, if you're just looking at things in the vacuum, not only did Sam Leavitt help lead ASU to a Big 12 title, but he cemented himself in the top 15 of the program's passing yards and passing touchdowns, and did so in 2 years. Every person ahead of him on those lists did it in 3, 4, sometimes even 5 years. And so from the standpoint of what Sam did in as little time as he did, I think that people will look at what he did as, man, that was a heck of an effort. Not an effort that you expected, especially coming in. Like, people forget he was a third string quarterback at Michigan State as a true freshman, and not many people knew his name after that season. And then he comes in here and really makes a name for himself. And
became a leader on a team.
Absolutely.
Obviously, not showing up at the banquet kind of stains that a little bit, but he did become a leader. His teammates seemed to love him. He helped Jeff Sims. Jeff Sims said he helped him all throughout the time that he was injured, being able to be there for him and, carry on, what he was doing on the field and try and help Jeff Sims with that. With that being said, we talked about Jake Fetty. We talked about Cam Dyer. Is the future at quarterback on this team? Because, Jake Fetty has signed. Is the future at quarterback on this team? Do you think one of those two can start?
Personally, I think the future is here, yes. As far as Jake Fetty, I think Jake Fetty will be a really good quarterback at Arizona State. If people haven't seen the tape yet, I encourage you to seek it out. He is a heck of a dual threat quarterback, and my goodness, there's a recent highlight that was like one of the Texas plays of the week. And, he evaded pressure and spun out of one thing, spun out of another tackle, and then suddenly he's down the field for 80 yards. And that is the kind of quarterback that Jake Fetty is, that he does things like that on a weekly basis. If you look at what he did at Del Valle and El Paso, he was really just carving up defenses his entire years there. And so from that perspective, I think he is the future of Arizona State quarterbacking. But I think that you want a bridge there in terms of a guy who's a little more of a veteran. And, even if you're not going to bring in a veteran to start, at the very least, a veteran who can come in and kind of mold Fetty a little bit as well.
You don't want the Drew Pine situation.
You don't.
You don't want the Drew Pine situation, and obviously the Jeff Sims situation, where Jeff Sims, we knew what he was coming in. Drew Pine, not necessarily, didn't play much at Notre Dame. He was the backup quarterback there, but he got beat out by a true freshman. You want to bring someone in that's not going to get beat out by Jake Fetty.
That's why a Jaden Craig makes a lot of sense, is because that's a guy who has NFL grades already, but scouts are looking for him to get more applicable tape and that sort of thing. And so if you can get a guy like that who's knocking on the door of the NFL already, and then comes in for 1 year, really grooms Fetty and Dyer if need be as well. And, that to me is an ideal position. Someone who's going to come in for 1 year and really make a mark, but not someone that's going to derail the development of Fetty.
Now, what have we seen from the portal so far?
Well, there are quite a few other guys. Well, not quite a few, but enough that are, reasonable difference makers on the team that are in the two deep. Obviously, starting left tackle Josh Atkins is maybe the biggest one, literally the biggest one, probably. Cornerback Javen Robinson, also a starter. And then two reserves, backups guys, linebacker Tate Romney and an offensive lineman Joey Sua, who is still practicing and still present at the team's practices and things like that. So
really cool.
That
something
mindset that Kenny Dillingham
did last year.
Yep, and it still is continuing to be there. And players have told me that it's a breath of fresh air when coaches behave like that. And so I'm going to keep thinking that it's good that Kenny is doing that.
Yeah. Are you concerned
at all, like with the quarterback thing at all?
No, just in general
about the portal
of some of the guys that have left. Javen Robinson obviously is not. I think besides Atkins, the biggest name there because you're losing probably Keith Abney as well.
So what I think that this means is, I think that these are spots that you could have upgraded. Honestly, I think that Josh Atkins, as much of an incredible leader as he's been, and as productive as a left tackle as he's been, it wasn't to the level this year that it was last year. And, with a guy like Jermaine Mitchell coming in, the top JUCO prospect in the country, and an ideal fit at left tackle, perhaps. Maybe that's a spot where he fills in.
I'm just concerned about the secondary, though.
Secondary, there are reasons to be concerned, of course.
So many guys.
Especially if Xavier Alford also leaves. And
I'm not concerned specifically about the safety room because you had a lot of guys step up in the safety room this year.
The Montana Warrens and the Boogie Wilsons.
Yeah, I'm very impressed with them. And you got some guys behind them, too, that are true freshmen that may be able to step up, too, next year. But corner, I don't know.
You've got some young guys there at corner, the JoJo Smiths, the Joe McGinnises, guys like that. I don't know that those are guys that you want to hang your hat on and say, we're going into the season with two redshirt sophomores as our starting corners and, hoping that it goes well. Obviously, this is a position that has become one that you need to address in the portal, maybe more so than a lot of other spots. Obviously, offensive line, defensive line still feel like big areas that you want to upgrade at, but I think corner and wide receiver are probably the biggest two outside of that now. Obviously, of course, with quarterback being the big.
And we talked about this on Saturday. If you haven't watched our podcast post game after the ASU and Oklahoma game, the basketball game that was at Mortgage Matchup Center. So many names, guys. On Saturday, please, I implore you to go and watch it because we really broke down what ASU men's basketball looked like that game. That was obviously before what they did yesterday against NAU, but we talked about the offensive line and how important depth is because we saw it in the second 3-win season in a row. We saw how poor it was and how unfortunate it was that guys kept getting hurt, and it made it really tough to practice. Not only that, but the depth is so key. You saw it at the center position this year, was fantastic with the depth at the center position. Guard and tackle could have been a little better this year.
Could have been a little better. And, one thing that I think guys have circled is you've got these three pieces on the inside of the line, Makai Stewart, Wade Helton, and Makua Pule. I think if those three are your starting inside linemen next year, if you're going into the season with that as the expectation, I think that's not where you want to be. I think you want to bring in competition at the very least, maybe even a guy to start for one of those three, just because they are so young still and they're being developed. But, at the end of the day, you're wanting to compete at a conference title level. And I don't know that if you bring those three back as your entire inside of the line rotation, I don't think that you're positioning yourself well to compete.
And it's also like next year's schedule is no joke.
No, it's very, very tough.
You got Texas A&M, you got Texas Tech and BYU. You have to go.
Both of those on the road, by the way.
You have to go to London to play against Kansas, who also no joke. They, played pretty well against Utah at the end of the season as well.
They'll have a new quarterback for the first time this decade.
Correct,
also.
but that's also like you're traveling into another, time zone.
It's a toss-up game.
Zones away, but it's a tough one, and that's going to be directly after the Texas A&M game.
Mm-hmm.
So, a really tough schedule next year. They need to address a lot of these things, and I don't know if 1 year is going to do it. I don't know if it's, you bring in this portal class and then next year's portal class to help on top of it, because there are so many needs, so many guys graduating, so many guys going to the league, so many guys transferring. There's so many needs that I think expectations are going to be so much lower than they were this year. Obviously, losing your quarterback is going to do that. But even, I don't think it's going to be 3-win expectations, but it's not going. It's going to be like, okay, see if they can get into a bowl game, which is not what you want to see in the year 3 of this turnaround, year 4 of the Kenny Dillingham regime.
Yeah, I think obviously pre-portal, I think the bar is going to be set around 7 and 8 wins. And if you get to that, that's a very successful season. Obviously, things can change where if they go out and hit it big in the portal, then it's okay. Now you're in a position again where you can potentially get 10 wins. But again, you're entering a very tough schedule with 2 playoff teams from this year and another one that was just outside of it in BYU. And so those are tough games. We know ASU plays well in tough games. They aren't a team that...
They play well in tough games at home. And let's not forget also they have to go on the road in the Territorial Cup next year as well.
Yeah.
So that's 4 road games we're talking about.
Fafita could be back still.
I mean, that's 4 road games we're talking about. A&M, BYU, Texas Tech, and Arizona that are severely, really, really tough, I should say.
Yeah, it's a big, tall task in the portal, and it is for every team at this point in the season, honestly. Like, there's no team that looks at next season and thinks, oh, wow, we're going to be in a great spot 3 months from now. You just don't know in this age of college football. It's such an uncertainty, such a year-to-year, month-to-month in a lot of ways proposition. And, I think that based on what we saw a few years ago, Kenny Dillingham could hit it big in the portal. Obviously, he did with Sam Leavitt and Jordan Tyson and others, but I mean, it's going to be a tall task nonetheless.
All right, players not participating in practice. We're gonna get a little Sun Bowl preview here.
Yeah,
what we're
tiny bit.
What we're seeing is no Jordan Tyson, no Keith Abney, no CJ Fight, no Maxi Onachor, and no Shimon Mateer. Abney and Fight they're undecided on the bowl game, but
I wouldn't count on them playing in the bowl game, to be honest. And as far as NFL things for both those guys, I would guess that Abney goes to the draft just because of the spotless season that he had back there. And you don't know if you can have another season like that, just with the statistical advantages that he has. You don't know if you're going to get that again. And so I think he's got to capitalize and go to the NFL now. CJ Fight, I'm not sure if he'd be a day 1 or 2 guy. And so I think that might be a reason why, maybe coming back another year and improving that stock again does do some work for you. He's obviously more of a run stopper than a pass rusher, and we know how the NFL feels about putting a premium on pass rush, so maybe coming back and honing that skill is a good idea for him, but you just don't know with a guy like CJ Fight. And then Raleek Brown and Clayton Smith we haven't seen at all, and those guys really not sure either way about NFL or not. But
yeah, it's weird Raleek's not there, but
yeah, I mean, we've been hearing that he's looking into some draft things and what his stock might be, but not totally sure if it would be all that high. I guess it's not that deep of a running back class, so maybe that's part of it as well.
Yeah, could be. Justin Watley, Prince Dorba, Keyshawn Elliott, Jordan Crook, all practicing. Good for the defense. Offense a little scary, but I mean, you'll have to see if there's
It's been scary the last month anyway.
I mean, if there's no Raleek Brown, there's no Kyson Brown,
You're seeing what you got in the young guys.
Yeah.
That's what a bowl game is in 2025 for a lot of places.
They'll have some fun.
Yeah.
It's a bowl game. It's against the ACC champion Duke Blue Devils, by the way.
We've been considering, have you thought about, if ASU wins this, are they then the ACC champions?
Or are they the head of the Devils?
Ah.
Yes.
Sun Devil, Blue Devil, only one leaves town?
Yeah.
There we go.
Well, no, because they both have to go home. Yeah, whatever.
Doesn't work.
Anything else that you've seen at practice?
Not a ton yet, just in terms of...
You've been impressed with Cam Dyer a little bit?
So he wasn't there today, but he was here yesterday. We were not totally sure what was happening today, but as far as the first day that he was there, he looked good doing some of these things in, team stuff, and obviously getting more loose with the knee stuff, because coming off of that torn ACL about a month and a half ago, he's obviously looking better.
To be fair,
cleared a month and a half ago. Excuse me.
He didn't tear his ACL a month and a half ago.
Cleared a month and a half ago from the ACL, and starting to look more like the movement that we expected from him when he came in as one of the highest rated recruits in that 2024 class or 2025 class. I can't remember. I don't know how years work, but I think there are signs that Cam Dyer has a lot of stuff. Obviously, there were times when he was coming in as a wide receiver, and then there was times he was coming in as a wide receiver turning to quarterback. So really, the future is pretty open with Cam Dyer. I think they're flexible to do whatever they need to do. But I think from that standpoint, I think that Cam Dyer is below Jake Fetty in the mental power rankings of quarterbacks of the future for ASU.
Yeah, they still got to get Jake Fetty on campus.
Got to get Jake Fetty on campus. He's signed, obviously. He'll probably be at the bowl game because he's from El Paso. He's from, they call him the El Passer, or I guess not the El Passer. El is Spanish for the, so El Passer.
It's very good.
Thank you.
So nothing else at practice?
Yeah, not a ton. This first week of practices was always going to be more about getting young guys kind of implemented. So maybe next week we'll start to see more guys practicing than we're seeing this week. But as far as what we're seeing overall, it's just a continuation of, that culture that's been set. Obviously, guys are coming to work, and, there are certain things where there might be competitions or stakes on the line with drills, and maybe some of those drills will cause for things to happen in the bowl game, and who knows?
Okay.
There's my little wink.
Cryptic.
My non-wink wink.
Okay. Cryptic.
Yeah.
Hey, this school's got 2 basketball teams that are pretty dang good, huh?
Yeah, they seem like they might be good. Only 2 losses between the 2 of them so far.
And both of them have come from the men's team. But let's start with them. Pretty good showing over the weekend against Oklahoma. Didn't finish the game very strong, but,
got to learn to play with leads.
Yeah. But, man, they finished off NAU yesterday, and Masamba Diop had himself a game again. He's back in the NBA draft apparently.
It's funny how that guy, he might just do something amazing on any given night, but he also might not have any rebounds or blocks for an entire half. And so it's just, what kind of Masamba Diop are you getting on the particular night? It's feeling like he's more of an inconsistent player. We've heard Mo Odom talk after the Oklahoma game, I think it was, about how sometimes Masamba's not practicing quite as hard as he is, and so he needs to bring that standard up a little bit. But I think with Mo Odom in there, there's obviously few leaders that you could ask for that would be better at getting practice intensity up than a guy like Mo, who will do it himself and then will call you out when you're not doing it.
Hey, and Mo had his worst game of the season yesterday, and they still won 73-48.
Still had a pretty big positive impact, too.
Yeah. And that's what we were talking about a couple weeks ago when we were podcasting about this basketball team, and how Mo Odom, he just does what you need on that specific day. And I feel like that's what ASU got from him yesterday.
Yeah.
So good performances by Masamba Diop and Truitt, and McCabe had another pretty good game. I'd like to see the rebounding numbers up a little bit. Truitt had 8 rebounds. That was a high on the team yesterday.
That's enough for a free lunch if the standard hasn't gone up since the first week.
And we'll see what this team can do. The schedule gets a little tougher from here, playing against Santa Clara, then UCLA and Oregon State before getting into Big 12 play.
By the way, that Santa Clara game, if they win that one, which is in Las Vegas, by the way, if they win that, then they are at the same 9-2 start that they had last year before stuff went kind of haywire. And so it'll be interesting to see, 1, if they get to that same mark, and 2, if they can extend beyond it, and 3, if they can kind of maintain these good vibes that we've seen from them into conference play, because, I mean, they've played maybe 4 teams that are as good as what they'll see in conference play on a regular basis, and I think they're 2-2 in those games. So it'll be interesting to see what this team looks like once conference plays here.
Yeah, and then obviously that game at Pauley Pavilion's not going to be anything to snuff
That
at.
too. Mick Cronin.
Yep. So December 17th, next Wednesday against UCLA. And then obviously the Oregon State game after that.
And then the women's team did the exact same thing that they always do, which is they trailed after the first quarter, but then we're up by double digits at halftime. And I swear, I have to go back and look at this, but I think this has happened in like 75% of their games. Feels like every single time they get off to a slow start, but then
20-4 run.
Yeah, well, I think at one point it was even 20-0, and the first two came at the beginning, and then the last two at the end.
Yeah, so they outscored Penn State 20-4 in the second quarter.
Yeah,
wow.
I mean that team, it just really knows what its identity is, and it knows that it can hang its hat on mucking things up. And once things are mucked up, that's a position where they thrive, obviously, just because of Molly ball, as we've been calling it, of course. But
Gabby Elliott, have yourself a game
against your former team, no less.
Crazy, 27.
Pretty good revenge game.
She played 37 minutes.
Yeah,
jeez.
I think 4 steals too. So pretty good game for her. Pretty
dang good. All right, yeah. So 11-0 start for the women's basketball team, the best start in school history.
By 2 games now at this point. 9-0 was the previous best.
Hey, keep it going. Why not, right? Why not this team? They got a tough one coming up against Oregon State Sunday the 14th. That's at 2:00 in Corvallis. Yep, in Corvallis.
And then the Gonzaga one after that is pretty tough as well. I don't think that team has any cupcakes left on its schedule. It's just full pedal to the metal the rest of the way. And, coming into this season, I predicted 10 to 15 wins easy, and then probably a tournament team as well. Feels like that's pretty well on pace at this point.
They're about 5 wins away from a tournament.
Yeah. A lock.
Yeah. So we'll have to see. Now, good luck to the women's volleyball team who's playing against Creighton in Kentucky in the Sweet 16.
Trying to do something that they've never done in program history.
Make it to the Elite Eight. Wow. That's going to be fun. That's 11 a.m. What do they call it? Tip?
I don't know how volleyball works, to be honest, terminology-wise.
Serve? Side out. Yeah.
Side out?
Mm-hmm. So that's on ESPN. That's on ESPN2. That's where you can watch 11 a.m. Thursday. And then we'll see if they win that one. They'll play probably Kentucky, who's really dang good.
Yeah, I mean,
they have 2
from
losses.
This point on, it's the same thing as the women's basketball team. It's just go, go, go as long as you can.
We'll see what happens. That's going to do it for this edition of State of the Sun Devils. Thank you so much for listening and watching. You can find us on all forms of social media at AZ Sports Devils. For Damon Allred, I'm Jeremy Schnell. We'll talk to you soon.